What do the games Duke Nukem 3D, Street Fighter Alpha 2, and Twisted Metal all have in common? These three amazing games were all reviewed back in 1996, but they were not that year's best games. At least, not according to Next Generation Magazine, who gave all three of these classic games 4 stars out of 5. As crazy as it sounds, Next Generation gave 26 different games a higher score than Magic Carpet 2. I'm talking about the perfect 5-star rating. And today we're going to go through all of these reviews to see what makes them worthy of this coveted prize. This is Next Generation's 5-star reviews, and these are the 26 best games of 1996.
Young AH 夢を実現するために努力を惜しまない男。
買ってもいいわよ。
やったーやったーフォーミュラー1 97 10月9日いよいよ発売。
プレイステーション。
Alright, we're gonna kick things off with number 1, AH-64D Longbow on the PC. Given that flying a chopper is unlike piloting any other type of craft, it's difficult to make an entertaining, engaging, and realistic helicopter simulation. But Jane's Combat Simulations has done it. The Longbow disc includes everything from a McDonnell Douglas PR film that spells out all the specifications to the latest version of the Apache chopper, to the most intense and detailed tutorial a fledgling pilot could ever hope to have for reference. Rest assured, there's enough here to draw in even the most skittish newcomer. Number 2, BattleSport on the 3DO. The hits just keep coming. Put simply, we love this game. A cross between cyber sled and, football? Hockey? Definitely a contact sport of some kind. BattleSport is just what the name implies. For a 3DO title, it's especially impressive. True, the textures on each modeled object are simple, but every polygon is rock solid. The frame rate and in turn gameplay are as fast-paced as you could ask for. Best of all, it stays that way even during the 2-player split-screen mode, and this is where the game really kicks into gear. As with any split screen, having your view vertically limited is distracting, but the sheer fun and excitement of competing in this game against another human player is incredible. Number 3, Civilization 2 on the PC. After waiting 5 years, any follow-up to one of the classic and best strategy games in the history of PC had better be pretty damn good. Incredible as it seems, Civilization 2 lives up to that pedigree. In fact, this may be one of the most balanced and playable games ever released. Civ 2 is so well designed that it's easy to overlook one nagging thing. It's not really a sequel. From what we gather, the designers initially wanted to call this Civilization 2.0 since it's really just a refinement and expansion to Civ 1 rather than a true sequel. However, if somewhat misleading semantics in the title is the only bad thing you can point to, that hardly detracts from what the designers have accomplished, which is taking one of PC gaming's finest titles and bettering it. Number 4, Crusader No Remorse on PC. A mix between a graphic adventure and a shoot first and ask questions later action game, Crusader No Remorse has all the elements it takes to be an outstanding title. An original interface, killer graphics, spectacular sound, and wait for them video cutscenes. With the breath of fresh air that Crusaders gives the action-adventure genre, it's easy to forgive the cheesy acting that seems to be the trademark of full-motion video. Despite this minor failing, though, this game has far more going for it than against it. Number 5, Fighting Vipers on Saturn. Considering the success Sega achieved with Virtua Fighter 2, Fighting Vipers has the unenviable challenge of being the follow-up to what many consider to be the greatest fighting game of all time. In fact, initial impressions of those who've played Fighting Vipers is often, it's Virtua Fighter 2 with weirder characters. But the cookie cutter is one tool that the AM2 development team has little familiarity with. And despite the similarities to Virtua Fighter 2, Fighting Vipers boasts a plethora of added gameplay elements and strategic possibilities that give the game a character all its own. Fighting Vipers is a game that adds to an already impressive gameplay foundation. The ultimate crime would be for this title to be overshadowed by the reputation of its predecessor. Mark our words, Virtua Fighter 2 is one of the best games of all time, but Fighting Vipers nearly eclipses it. Number 6. Formula 1 on PlayStation. Despite the plethora of racing games available on next-generation systems, there is yet to be a title that truly satisfies the hardcore race fan on all levels. With its exquisite graphics, wide range of challenges, and startling amount of depth, Formula 1 is a game that changes everything. The graphics in Formula 1 practically jump out at you. Few titles have made the leap expected from the second generation of PlayStation games, but F1 proves that there is plenty of potential in the machine to be exploited. Number 7. Infocom Masterpieces on Mac. Once again, Activision has re-released a complete collection of Infocom text adventures. Technically, it isn't complete. Activision replaced the colorful manuals with e-documents right on the CD. Also, Shogun is still missing, although since it's universally regarded as having sucked, that's no great loss. However, with Arthur, the Quest for Excalibur, and Journey finally making the leap onto CD-ROM, this collection can be considered functionally comprehensive. It has 32 games promising 1,200 hours of gameplay minimum. Not bad. And neither are the 6 additional bonus titles, original games that were winners of an annual interactive fiction contest held on the net. Very cool, and a gamer's must-have. Number 8. Manx TT Superbike in the arcade. With the release of Manx TT Superbike, one of the fastest and most dazzling bike coin-ops in the arcades, the world has just received the next evolutionary step in bike racing sims. Offering 6-gear manual or automatic transmission, just 2 viewpoints and only 2 courses, any other game would have received a lower rating. But Manx TT is a technical, advanced tour de force and realistic simulation and easily earns our highest rating. Number 9. NFL GameDay on PlayStation. NFL GameDay has all the essentials for a good sports game. All the players, teams, stadiums, season play, stats, injuries, and trades. And the graphics are exactly what you'd expect from a 32-bit football game. The players are well animated with relatively detailed uniforms, and the field and stadiums are done perfectly. The sounds of crunching tackles, chanting crowds, and whistles are all CD quality and expertly complement the entire football experience. NFL GameDay isn't the perfect football game, but it is the best football game ever made, so far.
Let's go, guys. I need a play down here.
Hang on, Mike.
We're working on something up here.
Try 3-wide rocket.
If they blitz, it won't work.
What about a quick slam?
Okay, Mike, we're almost there.
Come on.
Look at pro split Z out.
What's taking so long up there?
Okay, Mike, here we go. 3 wide, 78, Z out, Y cross.
All right, all set? Let's go. Good call, guys. Good job.
And we're back with number 10, NHL FaceOff on PlayStation. NHL FaceOff takes all the qualities that made EA Sports' NHL series so good on the Genesis and adds everything that makes 32-bit games so special. The 3D arena is made to perfection, complete with reflection on the ice and rotating advertisements along the boards. Each team's uniform is done with unequaled detail. The inclusion of old-timers, 4 different types of checks, slap shots, drop passes, every NHL player and team, statistical tracking, and great AI give NHL FaceOff all the great gameplay elements that made NHL 96 so good. Throw in CD quality sound, 3 different camera angles, and some unbelievable graphics, and you have a new challenger for Lord Stanley's Cup. Number 11. Nights into Dreams on the Saturn. It hardly seems possible, but only 5 years ago, Sega Genesis found itself face to face with the more powerful Super NES. Suddenly, just as the battle seemed to be slipping away from Sega, a little blue hedgehog came along and pumped new life into the 16-bit machine. The man that supercharged the Genesis, and indeed the entire 16-bit generation, was Yuji Naka. and he's set to do it again with his latest masterpiece, Knights. In a year when Super Mario 64 for Nintendo 64 is undeniably the grandest thing any of us have ever seen, Sega has dared to give gamers something a little different to gnaw on, and it will certainly be appreciated by many. Knights simply soars. It's a grand, groundbreaking game that deserves huge success and the widest possible audience. Number 12, Pilotwings 64 on the Nintendo 64. Pilotwings 64 is classic Nintendo, a simple, addictive game embellished with extraordinary detail and graphic finesse. Silicon Graphics' promises of delivering a game console with the power of an Onyx workstation may have been met with skepticism, but this game looks like it's running on a low-resolution Onyx, and it isn't science fiction. This is easily the most impressive 3D ever seen on a console, and it's being pressed into the service of a totally charming, diverse, and enjoyable game. It may be that there's no other video game developer in the world that could visualize and execute a game like this. Sega, Sony, you can start worrying now. Number 13, Quake on PC. Everybody's heard of it. Everybody wants it. If you haven't, then why are you reading this magazine? The newest first-person shooter from the makers of Doom dumps you into the universe of cross dimensions, bloodthirsty monsters, and some of the most frightening ambient sound effects ever produced for a PC game. The best thing about Quake, however, is the play control. Realistic 3D physics cause players to slide down hills and bounce into the air from nearby explosions. Although the graphics aren't quite as astounding as hoped, the overall atmosphere of the textures conveys a sense of dark foreboding. Rarely does a game so completely reach its goal of being the best of its genre. Number 14, Resident Evil on PlayStation. Put simply, this is one of the best games we've ever played for a next-gen system. A jaw-dropping graphic adventure with plenty of action thrown in, Resident Evil takes the basic play mechanics of the Alone in the Dark series and runs with them, combining 3D polygon model characters with pre-rendered backgrounds. Resident Evil is one of those rare horror games that manages to be as genuinely scary as a good horror film. No small achievement. With liberal amounts of action, challenging gameplay, smooth control, and plenty of genuine scares, this is one game nobody should be without. Number 15, Sega Rally Championship on Saturn. In what is quickly becoming the rule for all of Sega's arcade conversions, Sega Rally Championship is a phenomenally good arcade translation that is an impressive game for Saturn. From the gorgeous graphics to the unrivaled handling properties to the awesome two-player mode, which is an amazing demonstration of how to balance reduced graphics display with no loss to the gameplay, Sega Rally is a symbol of all the reasons to be excited over 32-bit gaming, and more specifically, Sega's arcade translations to Saturn. Number 16, Soul Edge in the arcade. Finally, a clear sign has convincingly arrived, proving that the fighting genre in the arcade really is improving. Just months after releasing Tekken 2, and on the tail of Sega's newest release, Fighting Vipers, comes Soul Edge. Artfully conceived, smooth-moving, beautifully lighted, and deep with the 4-button combination moves, this new weapon-style combat game is sure to grab gamers and pull them in. All in all, this game adds that new element, just slightly different from the pack, filling in all the blanks with great gameplay, superb characters, and unique graphics, and then combines it into one solid package. Number 17, Stonekeep on PC. It's been a long time coming, but the promised role-playing game Stonekeep has finally been released, and it's been well worth the wait. The graphics are stunning, the music is eerie, and the interface is a pleasure to use. The monsters are refreshingly original. They're either digitized actors with fantastic makeup, or they're painstakingly computer-generated animation. If you've been waiting for this one to come out, like we have for the last 2.5 years, your patience has been well rewarded. Number 18, Super Mario 64 on Nintendo 64. When Nintendo decided that the first Nintendo 64 title would be the next game in the most legendary series in video game history, it set itself a truly Herculean task. Mario's lineage is two-dimensional and not ideal material upon which to base the most intensely scrutinized 3D video game of all time. It doesn't help that it comes at a time when video gaming is increasingly getting its punch from guns and gore a la Quake. However, it's also clear that Super Mario 64 isn't purely for kids. True, the presentation doesn't match the edginess of new breed games like Wipeout XL, but when it comes down to it, video games exist to entertain, whether through grim cyberpunk imagery or gaudy Toy Town colors. And entertainment is Super Mario 64's watchword. In fact, Mario has so many possible actions and the environment is so intensely interactive that it's possible to spend hours in the first level without achieving anything in particular.
Yo, listen up. We will not live in a two-dimensional world.
We won't go in one direction or dig where we can zag.
We will walk through walls. We will take a look around us.
We will not be confined.
We believe in the path of least limits.
We won't be told how to view the world.
We will experience true freedom.
We will not compromise. We will live the game through our hands.
We will be in control of something.
We will change the system.
And we're back with number 19, Tekken 2 on PlayStation. The original Tekken was a definite high water mark in PlayStation's early days. It was a top-notch 3D brawler in its own right, and the PlayStation version was more than just another straight arcade conversion. Tekken 2 goes even farther. The graphics have undergone improvements. The characters still look like broken puppets, but they move smoother than the original, and the animation is nothing short of excellent. And boy does it come with extras. Tekken 2 isn't perfect, but it's damn close and chock full of interesting characters, humor, and way cool movies. It's the best 3D fighting game yet available for PlayStation. Number 20, The Elder Scrolls Daggerfall on PC. Once you get to a city, the graphics don't look nearly as primitive. Buildings are everywhere. Hundreds of people with their own names and professions wander the landscape. They all have a purpose in the world and will speak to you in their own personal way. As you explore Daggerfall, you'll discover the world is whole, complete, self-contained, and fully detailed. Rumor has it that development finally ended only because the designers reached the limit of game data they could store on a single CD disc. This is a big world. The beta testers must have bought Nodos by the case. Number 21, Time Crisis in the arcade. Just like an obsessed A-type engineer, Namco has followed the course of its competitor, copying the model, improving on it, and adding new qualities along the way. In the case of Time Crisis, however, Namco's technical precociousness has brought the game into a whole new technical and game-playing level above any of its current competitors, namely Sega's Virtua Cop 2. Time Crisis employs a unique foot pedal to move you through the game and to simultaneously reload. By creating this innovative maneuvering technique, in addition to time-based predetermined path running, providing story or attack mode, and challenging end-level bosses, Time Crisis thrusts the light gun genre into brand new territory, and develops a whole new way of looking at and playing the classic light gun game. Number 22, Virtua Fighter 2 on the Saturn. Quite simply, Virtua Fighter 2 on the Saturn is the best console fighting game ever. The reason for its position at the top of the heap includes just about everything that has ever been done right in a fighting game, including blazing 30 frames per second action, several different play modes, remarkable AI, and a general attention to detail that sets a new mark for quality game design. The more important reason for the success of this 3D polygonal brawler, however, is its unrivaled depth of gameplay. Virtua Fighter 2 is an absolute must for all Saturn owners, and is a great reason to own a Saturn. Number 23, WarCraft 2 Tides of Darkness on PC. Blizzard took every comment, complaint, and pointer gamers made about WarCraft and acted on them. The result of Blizzard's hard work is immediately apparent in its new WarCraft 2 Tides of Darkness. The graphics are better, the play control is smoother, and the network setting is easier. In short, this is the game that fans have been waiting for. Blizzard would be hard-pressed to make this game any better. Even if you've never played the original WarCraft, pick this one up. It may just be the best strategy game of all time. Number 24, World Series Baseball 2 on the Saturn. This follow-up to last year's groundbreaking World Series Baseball could have been either a major disappointment or simply the game with new stats. Thankfully, it's neither. There's no baseball game that looks, plays, or feels as good as World Series Baseball 2. The graphics are so crisp and clean that it makes the competitors look like 16-bit games. The two-player game is incredible, and the speed of play enables you to get through the season without becoming bored. A must for any baseball fan, World Series Baseball 2 is at the top of this year's baseball lineup. Number 25, XCOM UFO Defense on the PlayStation. One of the most thoroughly enjoyable PC titles of the last few years has made its way to the home consoles, and it's everything you could have hoped for. Based loosely, very loosely, on the Jerry Anderson UFO TV show of the early 1970s, XCOM puts humanity against a particularly nasty bunch of invading aliens, but also has you researching recovered alien artifacts and handling the finances of building new bases and buying new equipment. XCOM is compatible with the PlayStation Mouse, which works well and is heartily recommended. This was designed with a mouse in mind, and using a PlayStation controller is a poor substitute. And finally, at number 26, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2 on the Super Nintendo. The long-awaited follow-up to Super Mario World, Yoshi's Island, does a good job of picking up where the original left off. Although it would be nearly impossible to capture the magic of a Mario game without Mario as the main character, it's encouraging to see that Nintendo can still produce a mammoth side-scrolling adventure with enough charm and sophistication to capture the hearts of Mario fans from long ago. The most impressive features of Yoshi's Island are its size and playability. You'll find yourself baffled at the task of completing this gargantuan game, but you'll definitely enjoy trying.
When is too much too much? To find out, we crammed everything into Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island. 60 more levels, massive enemies, huge Yoshi tricks, all served up with the latest graphic technology, Morphmation.
No more.
Sure you don't have room for another little bonus level? Super Mario World 2, only on the Super NES. Still the big one.
Hey, thanks for watching the second episode of Next Generation's 5-Star Reviews. If you liked what you saw here, then you'll be happy to know that we're going to be running new episodes every Friday leading up to the end of the year. Also, if you missed it, there's a whole playlist with all of the original series, Next Generation's 1-Star Reviews. Those are, well, they're a lot meaner and snarkier, but they're a lot of fun. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite game of 1996? Do you agree with Next Generation, or did they sleep on your favorite game? Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back next week with more reviews and, who knows, maybe a new episode of EGM Ranks. I guess you'll just have to come back next week to find out. In the meantime, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.